Okay, here we go. Check 1 2 1 2. Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast, raw, real, and unedited. My name is Jason. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Catalyst has the power to create change, and that's what we hope this podcast will do. We're going to talk about the catalyst, that turning point, the journey, the lesson, and beyond. Welcome to episode 14. Now, last episode we ended right before I was about to talk about my father's passing, and I stopped because it really got too emotional for me, and I haven't really talked about his passing that much to a lot of people, and as I was about to go into it, it just kind of hit me really hard. So for those of you who've been joining us or just joining us for the first time, I'm taking these episodes to kind of walk through my journey with cancer, talk about the things that were dealt with, how we overcame them, and some people out there, they might find some similarities in it, might touch a nerve. I hope it does. And we're eventually going to get into the fact of, or the point of having people on with me to talk about their catalyst. But as we continue on, this was really a very tender point. So we're in October of 2019. And I just left one job and started at a new location. Completely different line of business. It was going to be a fresh start, a new start. I just was diagnosed cancer-free after my months-long chemo treatments. I still have fluid coming into the lung, but as far as the x-rays and everything, I was cancer-free. The routines that I've gone through, all the working out, the diet, the mental pieces, seem to be coming together. The leaving of the place where I was at to this new place was a relief, and a refreshing relief. So things were on an upswing. Now, prior to this, my communication with my father was cut short due to his wife and her turning his phone off. And it was frustrating. Very, very frustrating. In fact, like I said, this is October 2019. I actually went home and wanted to actually go see him, and it's probably one of the biggest regrets of my life because I decided not to because of her. Trying to raise money, or she did raise money. I'm really not sure. But used my illness as a way to collect money and then keep it, if that's the case. And then, he was supposed to come down to Florida, and the trip was never going to happen. And then she turned the phone off, and I wasn't able to communicate with him. So I was there and in Pennsylvania, and decided not to communicate, because if I had to communicate with him, I was going to have to communicate with her, and if I was going to have to communicate with her, it was not going to be a pleasant experience for anyone. So hindsight's 2020. Looking back, that would have been the last time I seen my dad. And so when we got to this part in the last episode, episode 13, it really kind of hit me hard. And it's unfortunate because, again, he's my stepdad, my adopted dad. I'm his adopted child. But he's definitely more of a father than my birth father was. And he loved me unconditionally. And, as a young child, when you're going through a divorce and your other side of the family is Italian and guilt is prevalent, for me as a child, I was easily manipulated. I'm not blaming anyone. It's just the way it was. So there were opportunities that had come prior where I could have communicated with him or I could have talked to him. I remember when I was working in radio in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and he came up to me at one of my events, and I really didn't know how to feel about it. And then as I got older, his sister, I moved down here to Florida, and his sister was here, and I went to visit her, and she gave me his number, and we started communicating. And once I got married, and I had my son, when we came to Pennsylvania, we would spend time with him. That wasn't a happy thing for my mother. And we'll get into that, but we were able to reconnect, and it was good when I was able to. And when his wife went off her meds and would curse me out, it wasn't. But I remember the day. It was the day of his passing. It was a weekday, and it was my first, going into my second week at this new job. And I was on a road trip to the West Coast for one of the places that this company gave service to. And it was a shared ride with the ops manager, and we went to this location and talked with people, and I got to understand the business a little bit. It was kind of like a learning trip, and there were a few calls from throughout the week. There were a few calls, and I never answered them. But especially this day, there was like 2 calls. No voicemails except for the last one. And I didn't listen to it until we were driving back to the home office. And it was simply, Jason, this is her name. Your dad died. I just want you to know. And that was it. And I just remember it was the same feeling as when I found out I had cancer, it was just an emptiness. There wasn't really a reaction. There was I just hung the phone up, and my ops manager was like, "What's wrong?" And my dad just died. And I remember her reaction, and we talked about it, and I remember going home, and my wife at the time, and telling her, and then having to tell my son, who was around, what was this? This would be 9, I guess. Or, no, 2008, that would be 11. Like 10 or 11. And, he was already in bed by the time I got home. So that morning I woke him up. He woke up, and it was a school day. So, I sat with him and talked and said, told him that Grandpa Bob was gone. But Grandpa Bob wouldn't want us to be sad. He would want us to be, remember him. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the beach tomorrow morning. And because I think he passed on a Thursday. It was a Friday. And then that following day, we went to my son and I went to the beach to celebrate my dad, because I did call her and speak to her, and she said, and he was already in the process of cremating him, and there wasn't going to be a funeral, and there wasn't going to be anything. Which was a surprise to me, a surprise to his brother, a surprise to his sister, and a lot of frustration. And I do remember that at one point she called me before his death about putting me as the sole person on the will for both of them. But I never saw anything. And to be quite honest, really didn't care. If she raised money due to my illness, why was I going to get any money? So the fact that I allowed my relationship with her to affect my communication with my father really was something that I absolutely regret. The ability for my son not to connect with his grandfather one more time, that really hurt as well too. And we're going to continue this conversation in the next episode, episode 15. But right now, this is the Catalyst Podcast. It's raw, it's real, it's unedited. Again, you can find us at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. You can find the podcasts anywhere your podcasts can be found. This is done through Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope that's what this podcast will do. Thank you for listening to episode 14. We'll continue on in episode 15. Go be great.